Once upon a time, I was walking to a castle along a drawbridge made of books. And as I continued to walk, I slipped. I fell through a hole. One might call it a gap. I climbed out. I continued to walk through that drawbridge of books. And then I fell again, through another gap. And I realized there's some serious gaps in my fantasy reading. Hey, welcome back to BellTube. I'm Brian Bell. Thanks for being here. Today, I want to share with you 10 series that, for whatever reason, have passed me by on my TBR. Some of them have been lingering on the TBR for quite some time. Some just aren't even on there at all.
Yes, might have gotten away with it too. If it wasn't for these blasted kids and their dog.
And I thought since we are starting a new BellTube community, I could maybe involve you guys and help me determine what I'm going to read coming up, most likely in February and March. January is pretty well spoken for already. I'll tell you why as we get closer to the end of December, but I'm doing something rather unusual and unique in January, so this would probably be starting in February. The first big series that I'd like to say, or shall I say admit, that I have not touched yet is the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. That's the biggie. You probably knew it was going to be on this list. I just haven't got to it yet. It's not that I'm afraid of difficult material. As I've mentioned in prior videos, Gene Wolfe's Book of the New Sun is one of my favorite all-time series. Also, I've read the entire Wheel of Time back there. So the length of the series isn't really a detriment either. I just haven't gotten around to doing it. So the first series that we are contemplating here is the Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson. The second series that I haven't read yet is a pretty big internet darling, and that's The Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. I know absolutely nothing about this series. This is one of those that isn't even on my TBR, but I was putting this list together. I thought, you know what? I have seen this on a lot of other booktube channels. Maybe there's something to this Dandelion Dynasty, and maybe the BellTube community can help me out and decide if this should be the next one that I read. So the Dandelion Dynasty is the second series that we're contemplating here. The third series that I haven't read yet is by James Islington, and that is the Licanius trilogy. I've heard Patrick go on and on about how much he loves the Licanius trilogy. I've seen it on the shelves of pretty much all the other booktube channels that I watch. I have no idea what this is even about. I'm interested to know, but I don't know if it should come next. So hopefully maybe the BellTube community can join in through the comments, or maybe we'll do a community poll. I'm kind of thinking we're going to do a community poll on this one. So I'll put that in the outro if we decide to do it. And by the way, just so we don't forget, please do like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all the emails, all the likes, all the subs. You know how it goes. Let's move on from there. The fourth series that I haven't touched yet, it's not really a series, but it's a collection of books, and that's Brandon Sanderson's Secret Cosmere Project books. I've read all the way through Where We're Current in Stormlight Archive. I've read all of both Mistborn Era 1 and Mistborn Era 2. I loved Warbreaker. Warbreaker is one of my favorite standalone novels of all time, but I've not got to any of the Secret Project books. So you tell me, should that be the next thing I cross off the list? The fifth series that I haven't started yet is the Tide Child series. I think the first book is The Bone Ships. It hasn't been on my TBR either. Again, this is one that I hear talked about quite a bit on BookTube. I know absolutely nothing about it. I do enjoy nautical fantasy, but with these kind of titles in the fantasy and sci-fi realm, just because it's called The Bone Ships doesn't mean that it's necessarily nautical. Probably is. I don't know. You tell me. Should the Tide Child series be the next one that I hit come February or March? The sixth series is by John Gwynne, and that's the Bloodsworn Saga. I know there's only 2 of the 3 books that are out in the series yet. That's okay. I'm completely fine reading something that's not completed. If you think that the Bloodsworn Saga should be my next up, probably, like I said, in February or March, leave it in the comments, or maybe we'll do that community poll. The 8th series is by Richard Swan, and that's The Empire of the Wolf. I don't know anything really about it. I know that there's 2 books that are already published. I know that there's a 3rd book that is either in preliminary draft or maybe it's just about to be released. I think I've seen some artwork for it already. I'm very interested in it. I've heard a little bit about the premise. It sounds really cool to me. It is on my Goodreads TBR list. So if you think that that's the one that I should go for next, let me know. The 9th series in the list is something that my friend Tori at Tori Talks has talked about. Wow, that's a lot. Tori Talks. Hey, you know what, Tori? I understand the channel name now. Okay, the 9th series is The Long Price Quartet by Daniel Abraham. I don't know anything about it other than that there's 4 books. I think they're combined into an omnibus at this point where you've got the different seasons. It sounds really cool, and I've heard nobody say a bad word about the Long Price Quartet, so maybe that should be the next one that we do. You let me know. The 10th series that I'm not sure about. I am sure about the author, and that's Larry Correia, and this series is Monster Hunters International. This sounds like something totally up my alley. I love urban fantasy. I've been reading the Saga of the Forgotten Warrior by him, which is an epic fantasy, but Monster Hunter International sounds super cool. It's been on my TBR for a while. I honestly do not know why I haven't got to it yet. For those of you that have read this series, do you think this should be my next one? If not, where should I put it? Because it seems like it would be a great palate cleanser between bigger epic fantasy books. And of course, we have to do a bonus 11th book series. This is by Tad Williams. This is the Blood, Sorrow, and Thorn series. I don't know anything about it. I know that it's supposed to be very traditional epic fantasy. I know that the books are pretty long. Like I said, I'm pretty cool with doing long books. So if you think that Tad Williams should be the next author that I hit, please do let me know. That's your choice. Those are 11 book series that I'm very interested in starting. Again, this will be sort of February, March, and I am really looking forward to telling you what I'm doing in January. We're going to discuss that towards the end of this month in December of 2023 still. Of course, at the end of each episode, we have to do one for the road. Today's episode is going to be about seriousness. Now, I know there's a time and a place to be serious, and I know some of us are more serious people in general than others. Some of our work requires it. I spent 15 years of my life as a nightclub owner. There's times to be serious, but there was also a lot of times to just let loose and have fun. And my challenge to you today is to try to pick out a moment or two of the day where you're normally very serious, but you don't really have to be. And maybe if you're a serious person, let that drop off you a little bit and have a little bit of fun. Life is very short. There's plenty of time for serious manner. There also needs to be time for you to have a little bit of fun, even if it's just for a few moments a day. That's our episode of BellTube today. I can't wait because coming up later this week is going to be our first annual BellTube Holiday Disco Special, where I'm going to pay homage and tribute and have some special gifts for some of my favorite booktube creators on YouTube. That's what we've got, and of course, here's your fortune.